Egypt's Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry has paid an official visit to Ankara, where he met his Turkish counterpart Mevlut Çavuşoğlu. The two ministers said they are taking concrete steps in reappointing ambassadors and will enhance cooperation to ensure stability in Libya. The meeting comes just weeks after Çavuşoğlu made a landmark visit to Cairo, the first of its kind in a decade. Shoukry's visit to Turkey is his second since March, when he toured the country's south in a show of solidarity following the February 6 earthquakes. Diplomatic ties between the two countries had been cut off after a 2013 coup in Egypt overthrew then-President Mohamed Morsi. But the recent meetings have raised expectations that full diplomatic relations will be restored soon. Their rapprochement follows others in the region, including with Iran, which recently reopened its embassy in Saudi Arabia. Bahrain and Qatar also announced restoration of diplomatic ties, ending a years-long dispute. And to discuss how the reconciliation between Egypt and Turkey might influence the region, joining me now from London is Jane Kinnement. She is the Policy and Impact Director at the European Leadership Network. And from Istanbul, Cengiz Tomar. He is a professor at Marmara University, specializing on the Middle East. A warm welcome to you both, and thanks for joining me on Straight Talk. So, Cengiz, let me begin with you. Turkish and Egyptian foreign ministers have met once again in their latest step to fully restore ties, although no timetable was announced on the reappointment of the ambassadors, but sides seem to be agreed on working on getting it done soon. So what's your take on their latest meeting?
Actually, it is very important for the whole region. The region changed dramatically in the last 2 years. We have global change and regional change and domestic change in both countries. But globally, the problem between the US, Russia, and China, and Ukrainian problem, and also regional case, everybody is now going to be friends. Israel, Gulf countries, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and now the turn between Egypt and Turkey, and also both countries have some economical problems, and both of them, they need each other these days. That's why it's very important. Why? Because if we look at the history of Turks and Egyptians in more than 1,000 years, I think the last crisis was one of the most important crises in the last 100 years. Now they will solve the problem in this summer or in the autumn, I hope.
So, Jane, Libya was one of the issues that two foreign ministers had discussed. Çavuşoğlu said although they have some differences in methods, both countries want to see some stability in Libya. So how deep do differences run between Turkey and Egypt, especially when it comes to Libya?
Good that they talk so much about Libya, since it's probably the most difficult issue that is dividing the two countries. But I think it has become clear to both of them that no one is winning. Everyone is losing, and neither side can completely prevail in Libya. So this is probably a start. There will still be a lot of the details to be worked out. I think progress will be slow for that reason. Both countries have significant economic interests there, but it's important at least that there seems to be a decision. We have to find a way to share power. For the parties that we support in Libya to share power and not be so focused on fueling conflict.
So, Cengiz, could Turkey and Egypt's normalization efforts be considered as part of the realignment of the wider Middle East?
I think so, yeah. This is exactly that I want, because in the clash times in whole Middle East history, that foreign powers are coming to Turkey, last Crusaders, then Mongols, and now as America and Russia. But not all the countries, they come together, and it is very good for the Middle East. I think it's going well right now. I hope we have some problems in Libya, as you mentioned, but I think we can be there a win-win process for two countries in Libya, better than lose-lose project or lose-lose policy, and also for economics. And because both countries are the most populated countries of the region, 100 million almost, both of them. And this is very important for the economy. Culturally, Turks and Arabs, and Egypt is the brain of culture of the all Arab countries. And that's why I think also this Mediterranean issue, energy issue, economical issues, and also army and some defense sectors, they can make the Middle East better than the last 10 years.
So Jane, I mean, how fast are normalization efforts across the region moving forward? I mean, are you surprised about their pace?
Absolutely. I mean, even this week, there is so much going on. There is the Arab League meeting to discuss possibly readmitting Syria. Yes. There was the news yesterday that Qatar and Bahrain have mended ties, which is the last piece of the puzzle in ending that rift between the GCC. So there is a lot of movement, which I think is really interesting. But it does need to be remembered, a lot of this is a change of mindset on the parts of the leaders, and that's really important. But it doesn't necessarily mean that all of the root causes of the problems are being addressed. And of course, that comes up especially with Syria. There may be a normalization with Syria, but there is no improvement in the situation in the country in terms of the internal conflict and the repression and the human rights problems. So there's a surface level improvement, but there's still a lot of work to be done after these meetings.
So, Cengiz, China just brokered a deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran, which was very significant from that standpoint. And Syrian Foreign Minister Faisal Mekdad visited Cairo on Saturday. How important was this visit, as it represented a major step between a key Saudi ally and a key Iranian ally?
I think it is very important for the region as well, because now Syria and the most difficult problem for the Middle East, and after that Libya comes. But Libya is possible to solve more or quicker than Syria. But Syria is the most important problem now. Relations between Arab countries and Syria, Gulf, and Egypt is going better and better, and then it also. The relation between Egypt and Turkey makes further contribution to peace in Syria. And also China's interference is very important, very surprising, and very confusing as well. But all the United States interference, and then we see Iraq and Syria. I think maybe because China interfere with especially with soft power and trade. That's why I think it will be good for whole region.
So, Jane, could these latest diplomatic maneuvers lead to Syria returning to the Arab League soon? I mean, what are the challenges? Which countries are mostly opposed to this? Because we know Saudi Arabia and Egypt were against it, but now it seems like they're kind of changing their positions. What do you make of it?
I think they're still waiting to see, what, if anything, is Syria willing to give them. There's an interest to some extent in bringing it back into the Arab fold and away from Iran. But actually, that kind of realignment, that was tried, back in 2008, 2009. It wasn't very effective. There's also some questions about, will there be anything that is beneficial for the Syrian people? Could there be assurances of safety for refugees to go home? What is there that might help the humanitarian situation post the earthquake in the areas that are opposition held? So I think there'll be a lot going on, to say what can we get? Because once we have normalized, that's it. Actually, this is the moment at which the Arab countries have the most leverage.
So, Cengiz, how would Syria's comeback, let's say, to the Arab world, Arab fold, impact the possibility of restoring ties between Ankara and the Syrian regime?
Yeah, actually, we are waiting for that. But the Syrian issue is very problematic. Russia is there, and America, United States, and now creating some satellite state there. And also Iran and Turkey, and it's most difficult problem, and it takes maybe 10 years to solve it, and rehabilitation maybe more than 20 years. But at least to talk with Syria and Turkey is much better to get, some solution, because both countries are, more than 900 kilometers border, and now 5 million almost in Turkey. And also we have a very important cultural tie with Syria.
Yes.
I think, in last 1-2 years, and we can, talk to Syria, especially this asylum seekers problem, and democracy, and also constitutional problems of Syria. But it takes at least 10 years to rehabilitation in Syria.
All right, Cengiz and Jane, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.